Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone. Today, I want to share something that has the power to transform your life: the ability to act as if nothing bothers you. Not because we suppress our emotions, but because we master them. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that when we learn to control our inner world, the outer world loses its power over us. So let's explore 6 key principles that can help you break free from emotional reactivity and become the creator of your reality. Emotions are powerful forces that shape our experiences, decisions, and even our health. They can uplift us to the highest levels of joy or drag us down into despair. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that if we do not take control of our emotions, they will control us, shaping our reality in ways we may not even realize. Mastering our emotions is not about suppressing or ignoring them. It is about understanding them, regulating them, and using them to our advantage rather than allowing them to dictate our lives. From a scientific perspective, emotions are nothing more than biochemical responses in the body triggered by thoughts, memories, and experiences. When we encounter a stressful situation, our brain releases hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, which prepare us to react. This response is useful in life-threatening situations, but in modern life, where most of our stressors are psychological rather than physical, these repeated emotional reactions can become deeply ingrained patterns. If we constantly react with anger, frustration, or fear, we strengthen neural pathways that make these emotions our default state. Over time, we become addicted to these emotions, and they begin to define who we are. Dr. Dispenza emphasizes that to break free from this cycle, we must become aware of our emotional triggers. When something upsets us, instead of reacting automatically, we should pause and observe the emotion without judgment. This moment of awareness is crucial because it creates a gap between the stimulus and our response. In that gap lies our power, the power to choose how we want to feel and respond. If someone criticizes you, for example, you can either react with anger and defensiveness, reinforcing old patterns, or you can take a deep breath, detach from the emotion, and respond from a place of wisdom and composure. Another key to mastering emotions is understanding that our thoughts and emotions are intimately connected. Every time we think a thought, our brain releases chemicals that trigger corresponding emotions. If we constantly think negative thoughts, we will experience negative emotions, which in turn reinforce those thoughts, creating a feedback loop that keeps us trapped in a cycle of suffering. The good news is that we have the ability to break this cycle. By consciously choosing thoughts that generate positive emotions, we can rewire our brains and create new emotional habits. Instead of waking up and immediately dwelling on stress, disappointment, or resentment, we can train ourselves to focus on gratitude, possibility, and joy. Meditation is one of the most powerful tools for emotional mastery. Through meditation, we can observe our emotions without becoming attached to them. We learn that emotions are temporary and that we are not defined by them. Dr. Dispenza teaches that when we enter a meditative state, we move beyond the analytical mind and access deeper levels of awareness. In this state, we can reprogram our subconscious, releasing old emotional patterns and installing new, empowering ones. With consistent practice, we develop emotional resilience, allowing us to remain calm and centered, even in difficult situations. Another important aspect of mastering emotions is learning to regulate the body's physiological responses. When we experience intense emotions like anger or fear, our heart rate increases, our breathing becomes shallow, and our muscles tense up. By practicing breath control, mindfulness, and relaxation techniques, we can signal to the body that we are safe, which in turn calms the mind. A simple but effective practice is to take slow, deep breaths when feeling overwhelmed. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, bringing us back to a state of balance. Ultimately, emotional mastery is about taking responsibility for how we feel. Instead of blaming external circumstances or other people for our emotional state, we recognize that we have the power to choose our reactions. This shift in perspective is liberating because it puts us back in control of our own well-being. When we master our emotions, we do not become emotionless robots. Rather, we become more conscious, intentional, and empowered individuals. We experience emotions fully, but we do not allow them to control us. We use them as tools to guide us rather than obstacles that hold us back. Dr. Dispenza's teachings remind us that our emotions shape our reality. If we want to create a better future, we must first learn to manage our inner world. Mastering emotions is not something that happens overnight, but with awareness, practice, and commitment, we can train ourselves to respond to life with clarity, wisdom, and grace. When we take charge of our emotions, we take charge of our destiny. Our thoughts are the foundation of our reality. Every experience we have, every emotion we feel, and every outcome we create in our lives begins in the mind. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that if we want to change our external world, we must first change our internal world. By shifting our thoughts, we can rewire our brains, transform our emotional state, and attract new possibilities into our lives. This is not just a philosophical idea. It is backed by neuroscience and the science of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reconfigure itself based on repeated thoughts and experiences. Most people live their lives on autopilot, repeating the same thoughts every day. Studies show that nearly 95% of the thoughts we have today are the same as the ones we had yesterday. This means that if our thoughts are negative, self-defeating, or fear-based, we are continuously reinforcing the same patterns and creating the same reality. If you constantly think, I'm not good enough, I will never succeed, or life is unfair, your brain responds by wiring itself to expect failure and struggle. The subconscious mind accepts these thoughts as truth, and your emotions, behaviors, and actions begin to align with them. But the opposite is also true. When you consciously choose thoughts of possibility, gratitude, and success, your brain starts creating neural pathways that support these ideas. Over time, these new thought patterns become your default way of thinking, and as a result, your reality changes. If you start thinking, I am capable, opportunities are everywhere, and I am becoming my best self, your brain will begin to seek evidence to support these beliefs. Your actions will align with these thoughts, and you will attract circumstances that reflect this new mindset. Dr. Dispenza emphasizes that our emotions are a direct result of our thoughts. Thoughts create feelings, and feelings influence how we experience life. If you constantly think about past failures or negative experiences, you will feel emotions like fear, sadness, and anger. These emotions in turn will keep you stuck in the past, preventing you from moving forward. On the other hand, if you focus on thoughts that inspire you, make you feel empowered, and align with the future you desire, you will experience emotions like joy, excitement, and confidence. This shift in emotional state will change the energy you project, influencing the opportunities and people you attract into your life. One of the most powerful ways to change your thoughts is through visualization. Dr. Dispenza teaches that when we vividly imagine a desired outcome, the brain doesn't distinguish between reality and imagination. If you repeatedly visualize yourself achieving a goal, your brain starts creating the neural connections necessary to make it happen. Olympic athletes, top performers, and successful individuals all use this technique to mentally rehearse success before it manifests in their lives. By seeing yourself already in possession of what you desire, whether it's health, wealth, love, or confidence, you program your mind to believe it's possible. Meditation is another effective tool for reprogramming the mind. During meditation, we quiet the analytical mind and access the subconscious, where deeply ingrained beliefs and habits reside. When we enter this state of awareness, we can consciously replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Over time, this practice rewires the brain, helping us shift from old patterns of doubt and fear to new patterns of confidence and possibility. One of the biggest challenges people face when changing their thoughts is breaking free from the past. Many people identify so strongly with their past experiences that they believe they are destined to repeat them. But Dr. Dispenza reminds us that the past only exists if we keep reliving it in our minds. If we want to create a new future by shifting our attention from what went wrong to what could go right, we open the door to transformation. Another key to changing our thoughts is becoming mindful of our mental habits. Throughout the day, we must observe our thoughts and catch ourselves when we slip into negativity. When you notice a self-defeating thought like, I can't do this, or I always fail. Pause and replace it with an empowering one. I am learning and growing, or success is on its way to me. This simple practice, repeated consistently, rewires the brain and gradually shifts your default thought patterns. And Dr. Dispenza teaches that our thoughts and emotions emit an energetic frequency that influences what we attract. If we think thoughts of abundance, gratitude, and success, we align with experiences that reflect those states. If we dwell on lack, failure, and resentment, we attract more of the same. By becoming conscious creators of our thoughts, we become conscious creators of our reality. In the end, changing our thoughts is the first step to changing our lives. It is not an overnight process, but with daily awareness and practice, we can rewire our brains, elevate our emotions, and create a new future. The power to transform is within us. It begins with a single thought. Living in the past is one of the greatest obstacles to personal growth and transformation. We all have memories, experiences, and moments from our history that shape who we are today. However, when we allow the past to dominate our present, we become prisoners of those memories, repeating old patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior that limit our potential. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that the key to creating a new reality is to let go of the past and focus on the future you want to create. To do this, we must learn to stop living in the past, break free from its hold, and create a new narrative for ourselves. The past is a collection of memories, and memories are nothing more than electrical signals stored in the brain. These memories, whether good or bad, create neural networks that influence our present experiences. The problem arises when we allow these past experiences to define us. We may hold on to past trauma, regret, shame, or even past successes, constantly replaying them in our minds as if they were still happening. The more we think about the past, the more we reinforce those neural pathways, keeping ourselves stuck in old emotional states and mental patterns. Dr. Dispenza often explains that when we keep reliving the past in our minds, we are essentially recreating it over and over again. Every time we think about a past event, whether it's an argument, a failure, or a loss, we activate the same emotional responses: anger, sadness, guilt, or fear. These emotional reactions trigger the release of chemicals in the brain and body, which reinforces the neural pathways associated with that memory. Over time, this constant reliving of the past strengthens our connection to those emotions and keeps us emotionally attached to them. As a result, we continue to operate as if those past events are still happening, even though they are long gone. To stop living in the past, we must first become aware of how much we are influenced by it. This requires mindfulness, an awareness of our thoughts and feelings in the present moment. The first step is to observe how often we are consumed by past memories. When a negative thought or emotion arises, pause and ask yourself, is this thought from today or is it something from my past? Once we recognize the influence of the past, we can consciously choose to release it. Dr. Dispenza encourages us to let go of the emotions tied to past events, which often means releasing negative attachments that no longer serve us. For example, we may have experienced a painful breakup years ago, and every time we think about it, we feel sadness, anger, or resentment. These emotions become stored in the body and can manifest as physical tension, illness, or chronic stress. To break free from this, we must recognize that holding on to these emotions only keeps us tied to that person or experience. We must consciously choose to forgive, release, and move forward, allowing the energy of the past to dissipate. One of the most powerful ways to stop living in the past is to practice gratitude. Gratitude is an emotion that brings us into the present moment and shifts our focus from what we've lost to what we currently have. Instead of holding on to the pain or disappointment of the past, we begin to appreciate the present, our health, relationships, opportunities, and personal growth. When we focus on gratitude, we begin to create new neural pathways in the brain, ones that are connected to feelings of abundance, love, and joy. Another way to break free from the past is by envisioning a future that excites and inspires us. Dr. Dispenza teaches that we can only change our reality by mentally rehearsing a new one. By visualizing a future filled with success, love, happiness, and fulfillment, we direct our energy toward what we want rather than what we don't want. The more we imagine our future self, the person we want to become, the more we align our thoughts, feelings, and actions with that future. This process rewires our brain, breaking the neural connections that tie us to past experiences and creating new pathways that lead us to a new future. The key to releasing the past is to stop identifying with it. We often define ourselves by our past experiences, telling ourselves stories about who we are based on what we've been through. But you are not your past. Your past does not define your future unless you allow it to. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim of past events, start seeing yourself as a creator of your future. Let go of the stories that have kept you stuck and begin telling a new story. One where you are empowered, resilient, and capable of creating the life you desire. One of the most challenging aspects of letting go of the past is the fear of the unknown. When we release our attachment to the past, we step into uncertainty, and that can be scary. But Dr. Dispenza teaches that uncertainty is where all creation happens. It's in the unknown that new possibilities arise. If we want to create something new, we must be willing to let go of the old. This requires trust in ourselves, in the process of transformation, and in the infinite potential of the future. Meditation is one of the most powerful tools available for rewiring the brain and transforming your life. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that through meditation, we can break free from the patterns of the past, shift our consciousness, and create a new reality by reprogramming the subconscious mind. Meditation is not merely a practice of relaxation. It is a deep and transformative experience that allows us to change the way we think, feel, and act. By engaging in regular meditation, we can train our brain to form new neural pathways, release emotional blockages, and build a more empowered and resilient mindset. The brain is highly adaptable and capable of rewiring itself throughout our entire lives. This process, known as neuroplasticity, refers to the brain's ability to form new connections and reassign functions within neural networks based on experiences, learning, and behavior. For most of us, the brain's neural networks are formed by the repetitive thoughts, emotions, and actions we engage in daily. These networks create ingrained habits and patterns that dictate how we perceive the world and respond to it. If we experience trauma, fear, or stress over time, these experiences create strong neural pathways that are linked to negative emotional states and limited beliefs. However, the beauty of neuroplasticity is that it allows us to change these patterns. By consciously choosing new thoughts, behaviors, and emotional responses, we can rewire the brain to support healthier, more empowering ways of thinking and living. This is where meditation becomes a critical tool. Meditation allows us to break free from the constant stream of thoughts that dominate our minds and move into a state of deeper awareness. In this state, we have the power to reprogram our brains, release old emotional baggage, and create a new vision for our future. One of the most important ways meditation helps to rewire the brain is by allowing us to become more aware of our thoughts. Dr. Dispenza explains that most of us live on autopilot, reacting automatically to the world around us based on past conditioning. When we meditate, we become aware of the habitual thoughts and emotions that arise, and we gain the power to choose how to respond to them. Meditation helps us to detach from the constant chatter of the mind and observe our thoughts without judgment. This level of awareness is crucial because it gives us the opportunity to interrupt negative thought patterns and replace them with more positive, empowering ones. For example, if you often think, "I'm not good enough" during meditation, you can recognize that thought and consciously replace it with, "I am worthy of success and happiness." This simple shift can begin the process of rewiring your brain to support a more confident and positive self-image. Another way meditation rewires the brain is by calming the body's stress response. The human body is designed to respond to danger with a fight or flight response, releasing stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. While this response was essential for survival in ancient times, today It often becomes triggered by non life threatening situations such as work stress, financial worries, or interpersonal conflicts. Over time, the chronic activation of the stress response can lead to burnout, anxiety, and physical health problems. Meditation helps to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which counteracts the fight or flight response, bringing the body back into a state of calm and balance. When we meditate regularly, we lower our overall stress levels, allowing the brain and body to function more effectively and promoting emotional and physical healing. Meditation also helps us access deeper levels of consciousness where true transformation can take place. Dr. Dispenza teaches that when we meditate, we enter a state of coherence in which the brain waves slow down and we become more receptive to new ideas, beliefs, and experiences. In this state, the brain is more open to rewiring itself and creating new neural connections. Meditation helps us tap into this deeper level of consciousness, allowing us to visualize our goals, rehearse new behaviors, and reinforce empowering beliefs. As we consistently engage in this process, the brain begins to form new neural pathways that support these positive changes. And over time, we begin to see shifts in our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Another powerful aspect of meditation is its ability to release emotional blockages stored in the body. Our past experiences, especially those involving trauma or unresolved emotions, are often stored in the subconscious mind and the body. These emotional blockages can manifest as physical tension, pain, or illness, and they can prevent us from fully embracing the present moment or moving forward in our lives. Through meditation, we bring these emotions into our awareness and allow ourselves to process and release them. By doing so, we clear the energetic and emotional blocks that hold us back, creating space for new, more positive energy to flow through our minds and bodies. This emotional release is an essential part of the rewiring process, as it allows us to let go of old, limiting beliefs and create a new emotional foundation for our lives. In addition to rewiring the brain, meditation helps us build a stronger connection between the mind and body. When we meditate, we become more attuned to our physical sensations, breath, and energy. This increased awareness helps us recognize when we are out of alignment with our true desires and values, allowing us to make conscious choices that are more in harmony with our authentic selves. The practice of mindfulness, which is often incorporated into meditation, teaches us to be present in the moment without judgment, which helps reduce the impact of stress and anxiety on both the mind and body. Ultimately, meditation is a transformative practice that has the power to rewire the brain and change the way we think, feel, and act. By creating new neural pathways, reducing stress, and promoting emotional healing, meditation helps us break free from old habits and beliefs, allowing us to create a new reality for ourselves. As Dr. Dispenza teaches, the more we meditate and reprogram our minds, the more we can step into our fullest potential and create a life filled with peace, joy, and possibility. In a world where social media, societal expectations, and external praise are often seen as the benchmarks for success and self-worth, learning to detach from external validation is one of the most empowering steps we can take toward personal freedom and inner peace. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that when we rely on external validation to define our sense of self, we give away our personal power and allow external circumstances or the opinions of others to dictate how we feel about ourselves. True fulfillment and authenticity come from within, and by detaching from external validation, we can access a deeper sense of self-love, confidence, and inner strength. External validation comes in many forms: praise from others, recognition for achievements, likes and comments on social media, or approval from our families, friends, or colleagues. While receiving positive feedback can feel good in the moment, it is important to understand that relying on others for validation can leave us feeling insecure, dependent, and vulnerable. When our self-worth is based on what others think or say, we are constantly at the mercy of their opinions, which are often fleeting and subjective. This can lead to feelings of anxiety, self-doubt, and a lack of direction, especially when external validation is scarce or inconsistent. Dr. Dispenza explains that when we seek validation from external sources, we are essentially looking outside of ourselves for a sense of worth that should already be found within. Our minds are conditioned to look for affirmation and approval from others as a way of reinforcing our self identity. However, this habit keeps us in a constant state of seeking and striving, rather than being fully present and content with who we are in the moment. When we detach from external validation, we shift our focus inward and begin to cultivate a sense of self worth that is independent of external factors. The first step in detaching from external validation is becoming aware of how much we rely on it. This requires mindfulness and self reflection. We must ask ourselves, how often do I seek approval from others? Do I base my self esteem on how others perceive me? Am I constantly seeking validation through social media likes or compliments? By becoming aware of these patterns, we gain the ability to make conscious choices about how we respond to external feedback. Instead of seeking validation from others, we can begin to validate ourselves by recognizing our own strengths, achievements, and inner qualities. Self-recognition comes from acknowledging our worth without needing others to confirm it. Dr. Dispenza teaches that we have the power to choose how we feel about ourselves in any given moment. Instead of relying on someone else's opinion to determine our value, we can choose to love and accept ourselves as we are. This involves recognizing that our worth is inherent and not based on external accomplishments or the approval of others. By practicing self-love and self-compassion, we begin to cultivate a deep sense of inner security that is unaffected by external circumstances. Another key to detaching from external validation is learning to trust our intuition and inner guidance. Often we look to others for approval because we are unsure of ourselves or afraid of making the wrong decision. However, when we learn to listen to our inner voice and follow our instincts, we empower ourselves to make choices that align with our true desires and values. Dr. Dispenza encourages us to tap into the wisdom of our hearts and minds rather than seeking approval from the outside world. When we trust ourselves, we become less dependent on the opinions of others and more confident in our own ability to navigate life. One of the most powerful ways to detach from external validation is to stop comparing ourselves to others. In a society that often promotes competition and comparison, it can be easy to feel inadequate or inferior when we measure ourselves against someone else's achievements, appearance, or success. However, comparison is a surefire way to diminish our self-worth and create feelings of envy, jealousy, or resentment. Dr. Dispenza teaches that when we compare ourselves to others, we are essentially affirming that we are not enough as we are. Instead of looking outward and measuring ourselves against others, we must look inward and recognize that we are unique and whole just as we are. Detaching from external validation also involves letting go of the need for approval from others in our personal relationships. Many of us seek validation from our partners, family members, or friends, hoping that their love and acceptance will confirm our value. While healthy relationships are based on mutual respect and support, it is important to remember that our worth does not depend on someone else's approval. By setting boundaries and learning to communicate our needs authentically, we can build relationships that are grounded in self-respect and self-love, rather than the need for validation. It is also essential to recognize that external validation is fleeting. No matter how much praise, recognition, or approval we receive, it will never provide lasting fulfillment or happiness. Dr. Dispenza teaches that true joy and contentment come from within and are not dependent on external circumstances. When we detach from external validation, we stop chasing after fleeting sources of happiness and instead find peace in the present moment. We begin to realize that we are enough just as we are, and that our worth is not contingent on the opinions or approval of others. The concept of embodying the future version of yourself is one of the most powerful principles in personal transformation. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that in order to create the life we desire, we must stop waiting for change to happen externally and start embodying the version of ourselves that already exists in the future. This means aligning our thoughts, emotions, and actions with the person we want to become. By doing so, we can rewire our brains, attract new opportunities, and create a reality that reflects our deepest desires. Embodying the future you is about living as if your goals, dreams, and aspirations are already a part of your present experience. Most of us spend our time focusing on the present moment and reacting to the external circumstances in our lives. We often look at our current situation and think, when I have more money, when I have the perfect relationship, or when I have the job I want, then I will be happy and fulfilled. However, this mindset keeps us in a state of lack, always believing that happiness or success is something that is yet to come. And so, Dr. Dispenza emphasizes that if we want to create lasting change, we must begin by embodying the future version of ourselves now. This involves living as though we already possess the qualities, attributes, and experiences we desire, rather than waiting for them to manifest in the physical world. The first step in embodying the future you is to get clear on who that person is. Dr. Dispenza encourages us to visualize and imagine the version of ourselves that has already achieved our goals. What does this future version look like? How does this person think, feel, and behave? How does the future you carry yourself, speak, and interact with others? By getting clear on the details of this future version, we can begin to bring that image to life in the present moment. The more vivid and specific the visualization, the more power it holds to influence our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Once we have a clear vision of the future version of ourselves, the next step is to align our thoughts with that vision. Our thoughts create our reality, and by thinking in ways that are consistent with the future we want, we begin to rewire our brains to support those new possibilities. This requires shifting our focus from what is currently happening in our lives to what we want to create. Dr. Dispenza teaches that our brains are wired by the thoughts we think repeatedly, and by consciously choosing thoughts that are in alignment with the future version of ourselves, we can begin to form new neural pathways that support our desired outcomes. If the future you is confident, successful, and fulfilled, begin thinking thoughts that reflect those qualities. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, shift to thinking, I am worthy of success and abundance. Embodying the future you also involves aligning your emotions with your vision. Our emotions are energy in motion, and they play a critical role in manifesting our reality. When we feel the emotions associated with the future we desire, we send a powerful signal to the universe that we are ready to receive it. Dr. Dispenza explains that our emotions are a reflection of our thoughts, and by choosing to feel the emotions of our future self, we are creating a vibrational match with the life we want to create. If the future version of yourself is joyful, peaceful, and abundant, focus on cultivating those emotions in the present moment. Practice gratitude, appreciation, and joy as if they are already a part of your reality. This emotional alignment sends a message to your brain and body that the future you is already here, and you begin to act and feel as though your dreams are already realized. In addition to thoughts and emotions, embodying the future you requires taking inspired action. It's not enough to simply think and feel like the person you want to become. You must also act as if that person already exists. This means making choices and taking actions that align with your vision, even if they feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar. It's so easy to get stuck in this idea of events, like I should be happier, like I should be healthy, like I should have more money. Dr. Dispenza teaches that the brain does not distinguish between a real experience and an imagined one. So when we begin to act as if we are already the future version of ourselves, we start to rewire our brain to believe that these actions are part of our present reality. If you want to become a successful entrepreneur, start taking steps today that a successful entrepreneur would take, such as networking, setting goals, and taking calculated risks. If you want to embody a version of yourself that is healthy and fit, start taking action by exercising, eating well, and prioritizing self-care. By taking inspired action, you demonstrate to yourself that you are already stepping into the future you desire. Another key aspect of embodying the future you is letting go of old beliefs, habits, and patterns that no longer serve your new vision. The past version of yourself may have carried limiting beliefs or self-sabotaging habits that kept you stuck in a cycle of doubt and fear. To become the future you, it's essential to release these old patterns and step into a new identity. 3, Dr. Dispenza emphasizes that our identity is shaped by our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And when we change these, we change who we are. This may require letting go of past stories that you tell yourself, such as, I've always been this way, or I'm not capable of change. Instead, begin to identify with the future version of yourself and embrace the qualities that align with your new identity. The process of embodying the future you is also about trusting the process and staying committed to your vision, even when external circumstances may not immediately reflect the changes you are making internally. Dr. Dispenza teaches that the brain and body are slow to catch up with the new reality we are creating. It may take time for the external world to align with the internal shifts we are making. However, by consistently embodying the future version of yourself through thoughts, emotions, actions, and beliefs, you begin to move closer and closer to that reality. In conclusion, embodying the future you is a transformative process that requires clarity, alignment, and inspired action. By getting clear on the person you want to become, aligning your thoughts and emotions with that vision, taking action, and letting go of old limiting beliefs, you begin to rewire your brain and create a new reality. When you embody the future version of yourself now, you send a powerful message to the universe and to yourself that you are ready to step into your full potential. You begin to attract opportunities, people, and experiences that align with the future you are creating. The power to change your life lies within you. And by embodying the future you today, you step into a world of endless possibilities.